From Insipidly Vapid Productions, this is Going In Blind. I'm Morgan Jenkins, and welcome to episode 5 of Going In Blind, a tabletop role-playing game where each week a group of vision-impaired players sit down at a table, roll a few dice, and together tell a story. Come for the adventure, stay for the Grimlocks. Previously on Going In Blind, Gallic, the Dwarven Cleric, and Linka the Momentous, a halfling sorcerer, have been arrested by Neverwinter guards led by Captain Braxus, and were last seen being taken to the peninsula, the site of Neverwinter's prison. While in the prison, Gallic and Linka met Valan Fravashi, a drunk nobleman fallen on hard times. Gallic was able to perceive magics hidden in walls, and overhear a muttering madman a few cells up. Linka convinced Jessup, a cantankerous old guard, to bring everyone together into the same cell with the promise of gold. Jessup brought the madman, thin as a rake, and a dwarven businessman accused of smuggling into Gallic, Linka, and Valan's cell. Once they were alone, the thin madman drew his own blood and placed his hands on the magic symbols, causing a ripple to go through the wall, followed shortly by the madman himself. Checking the wall for any dangers, Gallic found it had become an illusion, and after throwing a coin to Valan, our party, now joined with the dwarf, decided to go through the wall. Will our heroes find their way out of prison? Is the muttering madman behind the illusion waiting for them? Is the dwarf important? And most importantly, will Valan succeed in sleeping off his hangover? Find out as we walk headlong through the wall in Going In Blind. Episode 5. Approach a Sleeping Dragon.
And through the wall we go.
Yep. So, as you step through the wall, you feel sort of a cold feeling as you pass through the wall. And the moment you step through, you notice that in front of you, there is an exact copy of that same wall. Except this one still has the blood on it. And you realise that the wall itself has shifted backwards 2 feet. And you are now in a corridor behind the cells. And the corridor ends very abruptly to your left, at what seems to be the end of the other cells, but to your right, it continues into the dark, and there appear to be unlit torches along the wall.
The cold slowly seeping into their bones, Gallic and Linka head right down the corridor, dwarf in tow. The corridor is thin, dusty, and forgotten, parts of the stonework fallen away, revealing hard-packed dirt. It seems to be some sort of secret passage, possibly left over from the prison's days as a keep, before it sunk into the ground and was repurposed.
Is there a trail of blood to follow?
There is indeed a trail of blood.
On the ground, drops of fresh blood slowly congeal, trailing off to the right and into the darkness. Gallic, who as a dwarf can see in the dark, leads the party down their thin corridor, which ends abruptly, a few moments later, at a T-junction, joining a much larger corridor that slopes up to the left and down to the right. The strange fellow is nowhere to be seen. The droplets of blood go left and up.
Could you give me another perception check for me?
Just
12. No, both of you, and I'll do
14.
Okay. 14. Okay, and you got
12.
12. Alright. You continue down this corridor, but you notice the blood dripping on the ground starts to get more erratic in where it's going. And you don't quite realise why that is until you take a step, after about sort of 15 minutes of walking down this corridor, you take a step forward and you feel one of the stones under your feet shift slightly, and there is a light click.
Oh.
From behind the players, Down the corridor, down towards the pit, they hear a rumbling, the sounds of rocks collapsing, coming closer and closer.
It's not a deep, solid rumble. It's not like your music would suggest. It's not like a boulder coming towards you. It's a shaking as if sections of the ceiling were falling in, but not entirely collapsing.
I'd suggest we run. Screw my earlier plan. Light the lights. Follow the blood. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think I can do
Nice.
that. I've got light as well.
Lovely. Okay. So we
light them up.
light them up.
A wash of stale, cold air rushes up the corridor at them, stirring up dust and cobwebs as Gallic takes a torch off the wall and lights it, Linka following suit.
Fantastic. So, with the lights of the lights and with Gundren following along completely uselessly, with the door following along completely uselessly, you very, very quickly make your way along the corridor. And now that you've got the light, you can tell that some of these stones are raised and some are very clearly not entirely made of stone as you traverse the corridor quite quickly. And it's very simple to just step past some of these stones, so you don't have any problem, and Gundren doesn't have any problem either. Although there is one point where it sounds like it's caught up with you, and a single piece of roofing stone sort of falls in front of Gundren. It smashes and he sort of goes, "Ah!" and then keeps coming behind you.
With the entire corridor collapsing behind and above and around our fleeing heroes, they run, dwarf in tow, following the trail of blood as it weaves in and around these raised stones, these traps. The light from their torches bounces off the walls, stretching and shrinking the shadows as they run up the slope. Up ahead, rearing out of the gloom like some sort of monster, their torches illuminate what appears to be an old wooden door.
Alright, so you valiantly sprint towards the door as the rumbling increases, and you smash through it. And could you give me we'll do a strength check.
Is it D20?
For you, yep. Okay, 18 plus 2. Good heavens.
To refresh, if the player wants to try something that isn't an attack, the player rolls an ability check, in this case for the strength ability, which we measure against a passive difficulty class, or DC, because this is an object, not a creature. For an old wooden door, the difficulty class is usually quite low, around 10 or so, but this is no ordinary wooden door. It requires quite a high check to break through, which is supposed to be up around the 28 mark, but I lowered it somewhat because the players are first level, and considering we haven't even gotten to the module start yet, it's a bit early to kill off the characters. So I brought it down to 19. Success.
Gallic
Shoulders through.
shoulders into the door, and
That's a little dwarf hole.
a decent chunk of the door comes away with you, and you smash through and find yourself outside, down the side of the prison. And as you burst through, and everyone else follows you through, and the door almost flies off its hinges and then sort of swings back loosely, you notice that on one side it's old rotten wood, and on the other someone has managed to make it look very convincingly like a section of stone wall, to the point where as it clicks back into place, it almost, you couldn't even tell that it had been there. And as it swings back, you notice on the side of the door near the lock, and indeed around the lock, there is a lot of blood in and around the lock, and a bloody handprint above it, just as it swings past you and clicks back into place. And you find yourself outside the prison at Neverwinter, just at the top of the peninsula. And the dwarf, out of breath, turns to you and says, "Thank you, thank both of you. My name is Gundren Rockseeker. Oh, by the gods, that was close. Oh, I would not have been able to get out of there without you. Thank you so much."
So, do we have a moment to catch our breath and find out why you were in there?
We do indeed. And he says, "My brothers and I, we, the Rockseeker clan, we found something in the great library of Neverwinter, something that Braxus did not want us to find.
Why does this not surprise me?
We started up an expedition to the town of Phandalin. My brothers have gone on ahead and I was about to join them. I was trying to set up a final cart to bring with us in order to finance what we were looking for, and Braxus found me. Thankfully he didn't find the cart, or it would have been impounded with me and probably questioned along with me. I'll tell you what, since you've helped me, I might be able to return the favour. If you take my cart of goods to the town of Phandalin, I can ride on ahead and set up the best deals. When you get there, I'll split the profits from the cart with you, equally, between the three of us.
Sounds good to me.
Yep, sounds like a plan.
Wonderful.
One last question for you. Did you know, Ranty McRanter?
The skinny one?
Yes.
No, never seen him before being put in that cell.
Oh,
Didn't even catch his name.
don't think he knew it.
At this point, we took a break in the game. Our session ended for that week. To be brutally honest, it actually continued for a minute or two beyond this, during which time we sped through a super simplified version of the next section of the adventure, because we had to be out of the room by a certain time, and I wanted to get to the start of the module. The reason I mention this, and don't play it for you, is because at the start of our next session, I backtracked to this moment, determined to do it right and not rush, changing it enough that it still felt fresh for the players, but not enough that it wouldn't be full of spoilers for anyone listening. So, we'll now resume play during the second part of my recap at the start of our next session.
Linker and Gallic, along with the dwarf Gundren Rockseeker, followed the bloody trail left by the madman, Velen preferring to bribe his way out rather than become a fugitive. Partway down the corridor, you accidentally triggered a trap, causing the ceiling to start collapsing on you, which happened very rapidly because we'd run out of time. Racing towards an old door, you burst through and found yourselves outside the prison as the light of, the pre-dawn light begins to faintly outline your surrounds. In thanks, Gundren offered you the one thing you need more than anything right now, which is a way out of the city. If you can make your way to the Driftwood Tavern, he's confident he can sneak you out of the city, but you must get there before dawn breaks, as carts are banned from the streets during the day, and his way out is a cart.
Because large carts can restrict movement along smaller streets in cities, some, like Neverwinter, only allow carts to move in and out during the quieter parts of the day, namely before sunrise and after sunset. That becomes important later. It's part of a mechanic I put together for this next bit of the adventure, which we'll touch on when it becomes relevant. But for now, we'll focus on escaping the prison undetected.
He's gone ahead to get the cart and meet you at the Driftwood Tavern, because he stashed it somewhere else. And so that is where we first find you, outside the prison, with that offer in place.
Right, let's go.
Yep,
We're going?
We're going.
Okay. To the south lies a small city gate, with roads leading up to the prison and off to the northeast. A lone guard checks cargo manifests and questions those passing through. Currently, there are 2 carts, a small family, and a man with a mule, presumably a trader. There is a solitary torch near the guard illuminating the area, the other torch having gone out. This close to dawn, there would be no plans to relight it. As you approach, I'm assuming, are you approaching?
we are approaching.
Yes.
As you approach, the guard lets the family through the gate, and you notice the stone wall around the gate is carved into the likeness of a sleeping dragon. Smoke from its nostrils curls seamlessly into the wrought iron hinges of the wooden gate itself.
So let's not make it obvious that we're fugitives, and let's also not make it obvious that we're not.
Okay, so we're going for that. Lovely. So you hear up ahead the first cart is allowed through. You can overhear the young man who is driving this cart through the gate, talking to the guard. They're both quite young, and the cart is full of cages, with goats and other animals in these cages. And you hear that he's heading into the butcher in Neverwinter.
Well, do we want to stay in the line, or do we want to go petticoat?
I can...
Sorry, don't mind me.
I'm scared there. You should be if that's what his reaction is. I don't know.
No, be very happy. Be very happy that that's what happened. It was just very close to the other thing.
I was going to take you aside and mention this quietly, but you keep bringing it up, so fine. We'll talk about it now. The players aren't just rushing to get to the cart and get out of the city before this dawn lockdown comes into effect. There's also a separate mechanic that poses a more immediate threat, and that's the guards discovering our players missing and raising an alarm. As each cart, family, or mule-wielding tinker passes through the sleeping dragon gate, the DM rolls a d20, that's a 20-sided die, to determine whether the alarm gets raised. Here, at cart number 1, a 17 or above would result in the alarm being raised, which would mean things got a little harder for our players. I rolled a 16. So close. As time passes, that number will drop, and the chance of their cell being found empty, apart from Valen, will increase. Also, as the first cart is closer to the light and the guard, and with people behind it in the line, it is harder to sneak into than the second cart, if one were to try and sneak. Of course, Gallic and Linker have no intention of sneaking anywhere.
I reckon we even go up and try and get in with him.
Alright, well, we're going to try and...
You're going to try and go through with the first fellow?
Yes.
Okay. So you head up to this first fellow, you bypass the third cart, and you walk past the man with his little mule. And so you head up to the front of the line, and you head towards this young man, Bell. And he turns and he says, "Yes, can I help you?"
You've got a lovely goat here.
"I have several goats. They're going to the butcher's. What of it?"
Considering how many you have, we thought we might be able to lend a hand. I know you've got them well under control. You're obviously more than capable. It's just, what can I say? I like goats.
Okay, so would you be able to roll for me a d20? Okay, so you've managed to convince Bell that he needs a hand. He goes, you're right. I probably do need a couple of extra hands. The only problem is that you're not on my official documents, so we're going to have a chat to this guard. But don't worry, he's a mate of mine. I'm sure we can figure something out to get you through with me.
Alright then.
Ha!
Rolled for the alarm. 16 and above sets it off this time. They got 15. All these carefully laid plans and stalling tactics to increase the likelihood of an alarm sounding are being dashed by good rolls. Every player's dream.
And so you get on the cart and trundle a little bit further forward, and he waves over to the guard, and the guard comes back. And he's a very young man. He's kind of useless. You can tell he bumbles. He's managed to already lose his sword. I'm fairly certain it's in the gatehouse back behind him. Clearly, he's not very good at his job, and so they put him on this gate where he's not going to be of much importance, really. And so Bell calls him over, and he goes, "Oi, Oriston, over here." And Oriston, Private Oriston is his name, comes over, and he asks Bell, what's going on? So, well, these two young ladies, this halfling and this dwarf, they've offered to help me unload the goats. And you know my Dar, he can't help as much anymore, and it would cut down on things. Now, I don't have papers for them, but they don't need papers if they're just coming through. They're not part of the cargo, so can they come through with me? And he turns to you both and he says, "Well, it depends. Aside from this act of altruism, what is your business in the city?"
Honestly, I'd just like a good drink and then get back to life.
Yeah, pass through. Do our own thing.
You're doing well with these rolls. You like a drink.
They just don't make ale like what's in there at my place. You don't want halfling ale.
It's not pleasant.
Stay away.
Okay, could I get you both to roll a persuasion, which is a d20? Okay, so you got a 17 plus 6 and a 17 plus 1 versus is 19. So Linker
Convinced him.
he's convinced by you. He's Private Oriston. Still not entirely sure that Gallic's doing things, so he's going to remember you. He's going to remember you as being a bit shifty.
Roll for alarm.
Not that it matters right now. So he passes you on and goes to the man with his mule. You continue through the gate, and beyond the gate, the way splits into three. Ahead of you, directly ahead, and leading back towards the marketplace where this whole thing started, is Protector's Road, it's called. It's a main artery of the city. It's always busy with folk coming and going, taking goods to the peninsula or further to the Black Lake district and beyond. As such, you can see many city guards patrolling its length. And you are in the cart, so you go this way. Now, you still don't know where the Driftwood Tavern is in the city. I have to do that again. So, two things happen. I rolled an 18. Two things happen. Firstly, you notice that the light has sort of increased. And remember, you were told by Gundren you need to get on this other cart that he has and get out of the city before dawn breaks, before the sunrise happens. And there are 3 levels of pre-dawn. There's dawn proper, which is when the sun breaks the horizon.
Also known as civil dawn.
There's that kind of grey pre-dawn, which is actually called nautical dawn, and then before that, to the point where it's almost still purpley blue in the sky and everything is just nothing. And that's called astronomical dawn, because it's technically dawn, but it doesn't count. And so you've been travelling through in this sort of basically dusky nothingness, and you've noticed it's actually risen to the point where that pre-dawn grey has come in. So it's gotten quite a bit later in your travels, down from the top of the peninsula. The other thing you notice, way, way, way back behind you, almost at, say, the prison, you hear this big clanging bell start up. So this ting, 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 ting. And you hear behind the now closed Sleeping Dragon gate a lot of shouts and noises as the cart starts to trundle down the central road of these 3 as it starts to travel down Protector's Road. There was also to the right a smaller, shabbier trail with buildings sort of squashed together and looming overhead. That place you know because you've been to the marketplace before. Is called Fiddler's Path, and it's home to thieves and sickly. And in between those 2 roads there are stacked a bunch of crates, just haphazardly stacked, but almost forming a stair of sorts. And then the street to the left, which is the final of the 3, it's called Coriol Street. It's smaller, it's less busy than Protector's Road, there are less guards, but that means there are also probably less people to tell you where the inn is that you are hunting for. And the noises are still quite a ways behind you, so you don't think anyone in this area will have been notified. They'll know that something's up, but they won't know what.
Okay.
What do you want to do?
What do they want to do? Which way will our players choose? Will they find the Driftwood Tavern? Or get out of the city undiscovered? And what other perils await them on their journey? Find out next time in Escape from Neverwinter, Episode 6 of Going in Blind. In episode 5 of Going in Blind, our theme music is Crusade by Kevin MacLeod. Our previously on music is Black Vortex, also by Kevin MacLeod. To find out more about his music, head to incompetech.com/music/royalty-free. In-episode music and sound effects from Syrinscape, a revolutionary sound design app made for tabletop gaming that adds a movie-like soundtrack to your gaming experience. Check them out at www.syrinscape.com. Please subscribe to us on iTunes, rate us, comment, Share with your friends. Whatever you can do, it's a big help. Just get the word out there. Signal fires. Try signal fires. Don't do that. Fire is dangerous. It can burn. Don't do it. That's not good. Let's not do that. Let's do something else. You can find our episodes on iTunes and also on YouTube. You can get in touch with us through our email, goinginblindpodcast@gmail.com, or I'm always on Twitter @goinginblinddnd, Facebook/goinginblinddnd. Give us a like there, or visit our website, goinginblindpodcast.com. To check out past episodes, we've got our custom character sheets and the modules we're running and notes on the games and much more. Going in Blind game sessions are recorded at Vision Australia Kooyong. Going in Blind is edited and produced by me, Morgan Jenkins, and is an Insipidly Vapid production.
Like a donkey. It's what happens when you take a donkey and a horse, put them together. Not as exciting as a zebra and a donkey, because then you get a zedonk, which is just a stupid name for an animal. It's zedonkulous. No, I'm sorry. I promised myself I wouldn't do that.